the Public Awareness Personnel Policy Committee meeting of the Vallecitos Water District for Monday, September 11th, 2023, 10 a.m. will come to order. Do we have any public comment or any members of the public?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then we will jump right into items for discussion. Mitigating Meadowlark Reclamation Facility issues discussion and outreach.
So we've had two recent issues at Meadowlark. One's kind of recurring, which is the foaming issue. And then we had a biology die-off there. So I guess we can talk about both if you'd like. I think it's the foaming issue that initiated probably the placement of this on the agenda.
And I saw the pictures. Thank you.
Yeah, so they were pretty dramatic,
Mhm.
and I have copies of them if you want to see them. We can bring up a presentation, but I sent it out to all the directors. We've been working with Encina Wastewater Authority because they have a pre-treatment program there, so they have personnel that's dedicated to determining things that are being dumped into the sewer collection system inappropriately. So we have one staff member here, Corey, who runs our FOG program that coordinates with Encina. So he's been kind of cleaning up with the Encina folks and trying to figure out the source of these. Not to much success. It's been very difficult.
Okay.
So it's been, it's challenging when you have such a big sewer shed and you don't know where it's coming
Right.
from. More recently, I think it was the last time we had the foaming, we were isolated. We weren't diverting flows from LS1 down to Meadowlark. So it was only the local area, which includes parts of San Leo Hills, Lake San Marcos, in that industrial area, right where Rancho Santa Fe and Melrose come together. It's kind of that area.
Mhm.
So that was the only area that was tributary and it was still foaming.
Yep.
So we think it's something in that area, which is helpful. So now it's a reduced subset of the area. So James, if you want to add anything to like the tracking and what we've been doing for that.
Yeah, so with the industrial waste program, we've seen as staff goes out, they actually start looking at putting different things and locations of where we could isolate systems. One of the things that I just talked to Corey, our fat soil and grease person, last week, and we're looking at getting a costing to put in manhole analyzer in certain areas. That basically takes samples every 10 or 15 minutes for a week. And then if we have a foaming event, because what happens is somebody dumps something here, by the time it shows up here at the plant, if you go back upstream to try and find it, it already passed. You know, you have to be extremely lucky that they're continually dumping something. The other things that we got lab test results in, I think they should have been in on Fridays. I haven't seen the lab test results, but whatever they're putting in is not really foaming the sewer, but as it goes through our process and we add a coagulant to help the bacteria stick together called a polymer. When it hits that polymer, it just foams up like crazy. So it's a chemical reaction. So now we're trying to narrow down from lab tests what chemicals that can be. Because with the industrial waste program, we do have a listing of chemicals different businesses use to try and. So we're doing a little bit of outreach with Corey and the industrial waste technician from Encina on site. We're really concentrating that things called Meadowlark Business Center over there. Whether it's the breweries that are dumping soaps down there, some type of detergent, or some other industrial user. We don't know at this point, and I don't think there's any new information came in on Friday. So I think we're going to hit the ground running this week, working in Encina, try and narrow it down a little bit, have some communication with customers, because there's a good chance that, it goes downstream. They don't even understand that it's causing harm.
Yeah.
So they're still not supposed to be doing it, but there's nothing that happens immediately next to their property. So it's probably flush it, so to speak, and it just disappears. So
One of the problems with the industrial discharge permits, these businesses that are required to get a permit, we're relying on what they say they're putting in the sewer system. So we think we know what's being put into the system, so we can use that data to determine what's the likely suspect. But there may be a business that's doing something they're not supposed to be doing, and that makes it very difficult. So these kind of real-time analyzers are good, but the analyzer looks for a particular thing, and we don't know what that thing is yet. So if we knew it was this chemical compound, it may be easier to track it down. We haven't even been able to figure out what the compound is, even though we've done the testing.
But it sounds like the analyzers, they take a sample and then you can ship it to the lab and test for certain things though, right? Am I understanding
Well,
that?
there's two different things. There's samplers, which grabs a sample, then you have to physically deliver it to a lab, wait for the results. But I think what James is talking about is a real-time analyzer. So
Okay,
it's a device you put in there and it's running its own diagnostic test. It grabs a little sample, tests it, and somehow sends out a report of what it found electronically, right through SCADA.
Yeah,
Right.
so it's a battery operated, you put it in for about a week, it takes basically I don't know if I don't know if it dips the sewer, I don't know exactly the mechanism, but it takes a sample, it analyzes the sewer as it's stream past.
Mhm.
And then you put in parameters, if it detects something, then it sends a signal somehow to probably through SCADA or through the radio to our operator, so then they immediately go out to that area. Because now it's happening right now, and then we could also see, because we'll know transient time, travel time between wherever that is and when it hits metal arc. Now, the problem is, if you may recall from the metal arc target, it takes 6 hours from when sewer enters our system before it becomes recycled water exiting our system. So by the time it hits that last process, it's 4.5, 5 hours. Well, it's a 90-minute contact time, so it's 4.5 hours at least, maybe 4 hours
Mhm.
by the time it hits that process.
Just to get through the metal arc treatment.
Yeah.
Not counting the travel.
Yeah,
time.
so but if we have tests and we have at least an idea of some chemical composition that we're looking for, and then we can, be searching with boots on the ground, and then also alert metal arc staff ahead of time, so they could actually maybe start taking grab samples, adding the polymer, mixing it up in their lab to see if it foams a short circuit at a time.
Gives you clues of who to
Yeah.
start asking.
Yeah.
But here's a quick question. Has this happened before?
Not to this level.
Not to this level.
Yeah.
Foaming is it so historically since I've been here, the big culprit, the transit time is even travel time is even further is Hollandia, because our sewers would turn white.
Okay.
So then by the time we go up there, it's long gone. And then the other thing, we used to have a bakery, I think it was called Jacques Gourmet in that business center over there.
Mhm.
And sometimes they would dump the yeast and other things, and it basically killed too much food. It basically destroyed the bugs at the plant. So that would happen in years past, but in the last several years, we haven't had anything like this. In the last at least 4 or 5 years, we haven't had anything like this.
And then the security cameras there, you don't show anything abnormal or
No.
no reason to suspect any internal?
No, yeah, we like people dumping soap in a fountain in a public park type of thing. No, nothing like that.
Right, because that's happening.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
happening
have
this
it.
year.
I have to sell it.
There's plenty of
Rescue
kids that live in and around Meadowlark.
Yeah.
They haven't noticed
constantly
it.
roaming that area.
So the foaming one has been more of an inconvenience and annoyance, but the killing off of the bacteria was a big deal.
Yeah.
We could
Right,
have
'cause that-
violated our permit
Yeah,
conditions.
that disrupts our ability to treat the water, and it's probably expensive,
Yeah,
and it takes time to
to rebuild
to
the,
grow the
it
bacteria.
does. So we were prepared to start importing activated sludge from other treatment plants like Encina or San
Okay.
Diego JPA. Turns out we didn't have to, right? It was able to restore its own biology.
Yeah, what do you
Given enough
feed them?
time. Yeah, I don't know.
Sewer.
Yeah, it recovered. Luckily, it wasn't a complete die off,
Yeah,
but I don't think we had any permit violations.
No, they reduced recycled water production. They stopped recycled water production, but we were still able to produce enough, treat enough to pump out the secondary.
Okay.
Basically all the way to Encina's ocean outfall.
Okay.
But they were able to, after whatever slug went through, they were able to do lab tests and double check the biology and slowly bring the plant back up to full. So we had to reduce the amount of, we were only treating local sewer, we shut off LS1.
Yeah, normally this time of year with the high recycled water demand, we'd be running LS1 and diverting a lot of flows to Meadowlark, but because of the disruption in the biological process, we didn't do that, so we were down, our reservoirs on our recycled water are pretty low.
Okay. I have a question about these analyzers. If we're going to put them in, can we program what we ask them to look for?
I don't
Within
know
reason?
enough about them yet,
Okay.
I have to look them up.
If we can, one of the things that I've always been interested in is trying to figure out if it's possible to detect, well, at the time, COVID-19, But I wonder if it would be possible to program them to detect for flu or, yes, or RSV. And if, I'd like to know the answer to that, if it's possible to program them to detect for those things. I don't think that we are part of the conglomerate that has joined in to test for those things, and I understand they're shutting it down for COVID-19, like
Okay.
the state project. But that doesn't mean that we're never going to see some other illness that
Right.
we could benefit from having a heads up that is about to impact our community.
Yeah.
So I would like to know the answer to that, if it's possible to
Yeah,
program that and check. for it.
yeah, and I don't know if those are like real-time analyzers or if they're grab samples and send them to the lab. We can
Yeah.
find out how
Okay.
that program works. We were never contacted by, it was mostly universities that were running that program and they didn't reach out to us. I know they did for Encina.
Mhm.
I don't know if they did for San Alejo, but for whatever reason, they didn't pick Meadowlark,
Yeah, okay.
and that's fine. But,
Too small for that.
yeah, so these analyzers, I don't know a lot about them, but I know they're very specific. You're looking for something in particular, not a broad range of things. 'Cause
Yeah.
when we do wastewater testing and water quality testing, you're testing for a wide range of things.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's an analyzer that has that kind of variety.
Yeah, well, that's why I was wondering if we can pre-program
Let me,
Yeah,
to look for certain
yeah,
things.
let me go ask, I'll ask Encina and what the capabilities and analyzers, I may not have a good understanding of them either, maybe they analyze only a few things and the rest of it they're relying on tests. And there's a timestamp.
Yeah.
And this was taken at 2 AM, this is taken at 2:30, so.
Yeah.
so-
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, just see what you can find out.
Yeah.
I'd be really
Yeah.
curious to know. And
so we haven't done, so the last word on that is end outreach. We haven't done a lot of general outreach because we don't really want to encourage anybody to, if we start posting pictures of the foam, some kids are gonna think that's really cool. I want to try to recreate that.
Mhm.
So we don't want to do a broadcasting of it, but we want to be more surgical and more precise on who we reach out to. So if you start to find out better who the most likely suspects are, then we can increase our outreach to those. And hopefully, like James said, maybe they just didn't know. Oh, we didn't know that
Yeah.
we couldn't put that in there. We didn't know
That's what
our
I'm
chemical would interact with your polymer.
Yeah,
So-
well, I mean, that's the good faith assumption, and
Yeah.
I imagine that that we will approach them, and Chris will do a good job approaching them and saying, hey, did you know? But yeah, I think that I'm really impressed that we are even able to track it back potentially. I think that this is a really difficult thing to isolate and figure out, and I'm
Yeah.
impressed that you're able to do that. So thank you for that.
We
forensic
think we
work.
can.
We can.
Yeah, I don't know if we're hoping, so.
Well, you've done it in the past.
If it was an ongoing issue, like if there's a discharger that was discharging all the time, we would catch them pretty quickly. But it's like James says, it's a batch.
Mhm.
They cleaned out a vat, they're making a batch of beer and they're done and they dump it, and then by the time we're out there, it's gone.
Mhm.
So it's really hard to
Okay.
track those things down.
Okay.
And there's a new brewery in that little shopping center too, that they don't have as much history with us. They just opened, it was where I think Stumblefoot used to be.
Yeah,
Okay.
And then the Double Peak Brewing they've talked to also, because at first those were if you're cleaning out your vats,
Yeah.
dumping a bunch of detergent. Those were our first suspects. So
Yeah.
and we went and talked to them. We went and talked to the car washes in the beginning, because that's another big soap source. So
but those big likely suspects that are further up in the watershed, there's a lot of dilution that occurs by the time it gets down there. But there's ones in these locations, basically right across the street from the plant. It's not getting diluted at all. It's a slug that hits us and
Okay.
it causes whatever it causes.
Okay.
But you isolated it just to everything east of Meadowlark, is that what I heard?
Pretty much, yeah. So it'll go up into San Alejo Hills. I don't know if it's all of San Alejo Hills.
yeah, it's all San Luis Hills, it's all La Costa Greens, La Costa Oaks, La Costa Business
South
Center.
and
Yeah.
east.
And
Parts
then
of Lake San Marcos.
yeah, Lake San Marcos and the basically coming down Rancho San Fernando, that hill drains back towards, so everything
Yeah.
basically that drains naturally, except for Lake San Marcos.
It's still a fairly large area, but in comparison to the rest of the sewer shed, it's small.
It's our districts.
But the only, most likely it's a business because of the volume of detergent.
Mhm.
And that business center is the most likely culprit because that's the only, because everything else is residential. I know there's some businesses within Lake San Marcos, but
Mhm.
mostly residential.
And a resident couldn't be responsible for.
It'd be a tremendous amount. I mean, they'd be dumping tens of gallons at one point, or I don't
Yeah.
even know how many gallons.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank
Okay.
you for that, and thank you for keeping me surprised. Okay, any other comments or questions?
The only other thing is, what's the, well, first of all, is there an alternative to the polymer used that we could consider potentially?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and once we discover what that is, if we can't seem to control, then we have to look at make sure the different polymers don't have the same reaction. So there's polymers are positive charge or negative charge. So, right, I think we're using an ionic polymer right now, so basically it makes the bacteria bind together, so it's easier to filter out. And I don't, for whatever reason, and there's a mixing. It has a lot of reaction to this detergent or whatever's being done again. So we'll probably have to stick with the same family.
Yeah.
But there's different things, but then a very popular polymer is called ferric chloride. It's basically iron. But the problem with that one is very corrosive. Everything turns rust and rust everything. So we try and stay away from that one.
Got it.
But it's also it's a little bit less expensive up front, but it's more expensive because it corrodes all your other stuff. So, but that one I know probably wouldn't have a reaction, but we're trying to stay away from that one. So.
And one, since we've talked about AI before, one useful thing for ChatGPT is technical cases like this. So saying, hey, we're using X polymer at Y rate in a community. We're having it foaming. These are the sorts of businesses in the area. What chemical would specifically interact with X polymer to cause foaming? And then you might get a
listing.
a listing of its considerations of all the possibilities that might give you another lead.
Yeah, the more knowns you have, the better results, right?
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
The more known the input, yeah.
But GPT in general is good at kind of technical stuff like this. So
Expands the possibilities.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments or questions about that? Okay, new board member handbook review.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do today is, we have the handbook in a paper form. We're trying to convert it over to a digital form. So I think Anthony sent this out to the two of you. It's kind of a digital index. And maybe just want to demonstrate how it works, obviously pretty easily, just point and click and it takes you to a site. So Anthony,
You'll give us access, right? Because I noticed when I was clicking on that, it said,
Some apologize for that, man. I
Access
should have
required.
full view rights.
oh, you couldn't get it to it? Oh,
Yeah, I just saw this model.
Yeah.
okay.
It
So
says
yeah,
that I required access. I had to be granted access or something.
right. And this is just proof of concept. This is just in my own OneDrive to show you how it could look. Whatever platform you decide to use, but it'd be something simple as clicking on the mission statement. It would take you right to the Vallecitos Water District. And there you go. Some basic information.
That's easy. That
Mhm.
looks nice.
Management team, organizational chart, simple blurbs we put together for the board. Such as the trainings. Like this will be a Word document, probably PDF or something uploaded. But the basic, ethics training, anti-harassment trainings, when they need to be done, how often they need to be done. Again, just basic information. I don't know if there's anything specific you want to look at, but this was all feedback we received from the last meeting, kind of order.
But just scroll right to the very bottom. That's probably the biggest document is like the budgets and there's number 30 is you
Yeah.
go right to the
Right.
approved budget. And that's a great source of a lot of information. So,
Right, and we would link to the most current budget sheet, on the website, so you have the most up to the information. So
yeah, so there may be time to time that we add a line item to the index or agenda there. But the actual documents, staff would be keeping current at all times, right? Obviously, the most recent budget would be the one you point to. If you wanted to go find an old budget, there's another way to get to that. But all of these documents need some kind of updating from time to time, and that's what we would be doing, is making sure they're updated.
Yeah.
Right, and I think to your point earlier, sir, in the discussions, it was having the links go to like the website. The majority of links go to the website, so all that information will be up to date as it's updated. So
And, I know we had talked about having some kind of board member portal on the website. Do we feel that that's necessary if we have the document organized like this?
Probably not.
Okay.
I don't see that there's any documents. The good thing about a portal is it could be restricted access, right?
Mhm.
There may be documents that you don't want the public to see that the board members do. I don't think anything in here has that, but there may be one exception, maybe not. I think it's all public information.
Mhm.
There's
Right,
nothing
we
specific.
removed the contact information.
Yeah, that's right. We did,
Mhm.
at one point we had contact information. We took that out of here because of that very reason.
One of the, and I apologize for this late breaking request, since this is almost completed, but one of the sessions that I attended at CSDA, I thought was really interesting, and it's something that I feel like I don't know a lot about. One of them was on like vendor selection, so I think it would be useful for board members to understand how vendors are selected, what their process is. And I know that when we go out to bid for a job, there's a blurb that you or Ryan talk about, but having that in writing so that we understand how are vendors selected typically. And another session that I went to was skilled and trained. What criteria would invoke skilled and trained workforce compliance requirements? And that's something that I don't know a whole lot about, but I'm very interested in. I don't know how applicable it is because there's so many different laws that govern that, but having that piece in here as well would be helpful.
Okay, yeah. Don't have anything to add to that second part,
Okay.
but the first part with the selection, we could either do a kind of a high level write-up, or we can include a link to our purchasing policy. So the purchasing policy is where it actually gets into, if you're looking out for this type of service or this type of
Mhm.
product, and here's the dollar value, and there's almost like a matrix that says if it's this and this, then you have to go out this way. You have to be competitive bid, or you can do an informal solicitation, or you can do a sole source.
Mhm.
So, but that may be too much information, so I'm not sure what would be more helpful for all of you. Do you want to see the purchasing policy? You're welcome to see it, but is that more than you need?
Well, I think, I'm not sure that it's necessarily about me, but it might be, some of the other directors.
Yeah, I meant you collectively, yeah.
So I think the write-up and a link to the policy, that way if someone is interested in policy, they can just go read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we could do a little bit of a write-up, maybe simplify it, and then with a sublink or something to the purchasing policy if there are any questions.
And we're thinking about, because Wes wants to update certain things in the purchasing policy that are outdated because it's pretty old. So we need to come to P3 committee if we do that anyway. So maybe.
Yeah, let's talk about
that. We go over the process itself or go over, but I'll go over the policy. But yeah, we can do definitely a synopsis and then actually link the policy because that's our guiding document.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that now for the purposes of getting this, bringing this to completion, and then we can go back in and we can talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah,
After all, I'm sorry.
okay,
I say after all, if we update the policy, we'll have that new link with the new
Okay.
policy on there.
Yeah.
yes.
That's
And
the
you
beauty
said,
of this.
you said something that, where's the effect, this is almost done, I don't know that this will ever be done, right? It'll always be a work in progress. We can
Right,
always
right.
add things.
It's, what I mean is it's almost ready to be published.
True.
Yeah.
So Anthony, if you look at like number 11, so it's doesn't have a link because we don't have the map yet. We're in the process of putting together the map,
Okay.
and whether the tour dates is part of the same thing or we don't know yet. So one thing I see, there'll be a map, and then there may be another sheet that says here's the dates of setting up tours for board members. I think there might have been another one that was not
A little higher up.
active.
Right, and I believe these two were at the suggestion of the committee members of adding this in, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we want to write this up
Yeah,
or what the idea was between the look ahead.
yeah, so we'll try to finalize items 5 and 11 and then have them be active links.
Mhm.
So,
What is number 5? I'm not remembering what that is.
I believe Director Grosset wanted to give kind of the board members a general idea of what to expect in the first 3, 6, 9 months.
what would be good accomplishments?
Oh,
Some of
okay.
it may be linked to like training, and maybe to say, hey, within your first 3 months, you have to get this training, but then here's some things that you should do. Here's a good thing, like you should get the tour done, you should have this done. And kind of just what should I be expecting?
Expectations of,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So we have.
These are the things that, is this different from the suggestion of, making sure, so we have a calendar and certain things are sort of fixed on a calendar, like the budget review, things like
Yeah.
that. Is that is a separate?
No, it's different. Go to
Okay.
that one, Anthony.
Okay, great.
So this is something we threw together. Some items that you can expect to see on an annual basis, quarterly basis, January through the whole rest of the year.
Yeah, if there's a better way to see that, if it'd be better in a calendar format, just let us know. But for right now, this is, you can look through that, and as each month comes up, you should know kind of what to expect on the board packet.
Right, so for the big one, obviously February, the budget process begins, committee meetings, and then all the way into June for approval, so stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is helpful. I'm ambivalent whether or not it's in a list or a calendar.
We'll start with this, and if it's not working, let us know, and we can modify it. So if anybody has a suggested change, we can easily modify this and have another link, so.
Okay. Questions?
No, I love the idea that you presented to, provide clarity specifically on the vendor process. I think that that's something that, given a board's role as oversight, is critically important to ensure transparency and fairness overall. So
Did we follow the right process?
Yeah.
Okay.
First thing the auditors always ask for. You really care about it. Shows the policy, what it shows that you followed it.
exactly.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, so moving forward, landscape workshops at Vallecitos. How's it
So,
going?
good, and the attendance has kind of continued to rise.
Oh,
I
great.
think the initial class, with it being really about soil and dirt, is just a lot less interesting than, designing your landscape and, making different plant choices. So, the next one is this Wednesday, and this one is about irrigation, and so I expect this one to be even more full. So I've been working with the instructor to, there's really only so much room in the training room. And we're like an airline where we're trying to overbook so that we fill it. So she's probably going to overbook it, and we can, do a little this and that and have people kind of sitting on the sides, but they've been really well attended, and a lot of people taking multiple ones, one after the other, which if you attend all 5 of them grants you, if you want to get an actual landscape architect to come to your house, visit you, and help you plan out
Such a great.
what it is you want to do. So, yeah.
It's a great.
Who pays for that? Is that us, or is that their programming page for that?
So no, we're not paying for that. And this is really a partner. So I'm not 100% sure. It's a big partnership between the Water Authority and the County of San Diego, where the county has basically the permit about stormwater pollution prevention. And they want these classes to occur. They have certain goals and achievements that the county needs to get done. And so by offering these classes, the county is marking a box that, we hosted X amount of classes to help people transform their landscape. So I'm not sure which one of them pays for it, but it isn't the district that pays for it. Yeah.
And this will be an annual thing they're doing, or is this a one and done?
Well, this is, the one that we'll do for this fall,
Yeah.
but they're sort of ongoing. They have online versions that they offer up as well. It's not always easy for everybody to get up and get out of their house and go to it. There's benefits to taking classes, at your computer at home, but there's also benefits to when they pass around the jar of dirt. And you actually look at it and you go, oh yeah, that kind of
Smell
looks
it.
like the one that
Yeah.
I have.
Yep.
So
Do they move around the county? I know they do this, so next time.
yeah, so they are doing some, Kiana, even as we speak, there's a second set that's probably occurring in the South Bay.
Oh, okay.
So good for us to host it. We're a good location. We're pretty easy to get to. We're right off the 78, and mostly Vallecitos customers, but not every one of them is Vallecitos customers.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that's going well.
We've done 3 already.
We've done 3, 4th one's on Wednesday.
How many people have attended all three, you know?
I would say, the tricky part is I goofed up a few times because I thought the person looked familiar and they were a new person. I go, good to see you again. I'm like, I haven't never seen you before. So I would say, about 60% are the same people again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that other 40%, just coming to this class or that class.
And how many people again?
So the room fits 30, and usually when I kind of look around, there's probably about 5 or 6 empty seats, so it fits 30
Great.
comfortably.
Great.
And then, we can also put chairs on the sides like this if it's overfull.
So I feel like this is such a good program and people are busy, but this is a good program and there's a real benefit to the people that attend. Let's think about after this is over, how we can make sure that we maximize the PR around it.
Yeah.
Because it's something, we want people to anticipate it and we want them to come to the next one.
Yes, and the one of the good things that came out of it, kind of separate but different. The county and the CWA partnered up to provide those landscape transformations out at unincorporated areas out within the service area.
Mhm.
And so we're a little bit lucky in that we have this county spot, unincorporated Lake San Marcos, with a lot of homeowners associations that have been able to transform their landscapes.
Mhm.
We've had a couple of the customers there also go, hey, I could do that. I could do that myself. So we've had our customers take advantage of it as well. So it's been in Quail Call, which is the little local magazine for Lake San Marcos, both the previous month, and it was also in there for September.
Mhm.
So, we want people to attend, and obviously the city of San Marcos has partnered with us on this.
Mhm.
So the publicity has been there. It's just, the ability for people to show up.
It's a time commitment,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
I think, if this is something that you've been thinking about and you know you're going to do it,
yeah,
you'll go.
yeah.
You'll go.
One of the unique things about our industry is we do these events to tell people how to use less of our product, right? And not many other
Yes.
industries do that.
Yes.
One thing we haven't really done is try to measure how impactful that has been to the bottom line of a business. So for example, if we took a list of all these HOAs that participated in this program and looked at the meters serving those properties, what is their demand drop? Demand is very difficult to compare because seasonal variations, right? We may say, hey, this past year water sales were terrible, but it's not because everybody converted their turf, it's because we had historic rains. So it would need to be looked at over a period of time, but we could start to get a sense of the bottom line of how negatively impactful it is to the bottom line. Doesn't mean we wouldn't continue to do it, but it's nice to know.
Yeah.
Because every time we do these, we're selling less water.
Mhm. It's an interesting business model.
It is, yeah. I think that's it on that.
Okay, staffing update.
So staffing update as far as public information and conservation is concerned, not the district as a whole, but I've got Lisa back. She had that thumb surgery, and so her doctor has released her to half-time. Lisa is 3/4 time, so she's half of 3/4, whatever that works out to, is, however many sixths or
3/8.
3/8. So she's 3/8 time,
Okay.
but it's better than nothing.
I was gonna say-
And so, it's just helpful to have somebody else around. Alicia is out through the end of September. So, anxious to get her back as well.
And remind me, why is it?
Alicia's got some medical problems with the digestive system.
But it's certainly impacting Chris's ability to get videos out and things like that.
Yeah. We have a lot of events coming up in October too. It's a busy month.
Are we going to be at the harvest, the San Marcos harvest?
Yeah, we'll be there. And I think we're at San Marcos Fire's open house the Saturday before.
Okay,
You
which
know,
station is that?
It's the main one, kind of down by the senior center on
Okay.
Mission. And that was a shorter day, but I remember you know, they've already publicized it. So I was like, you guys doing it on the same weekend?
Yeah, that's a long weekend.
Yeah.
So how does that work? So I imagine you'll probably be at both places for a
Yeah,
little while.
yeah.
So how does that work with your week? Do you get to, come in late or take time off? Or how does it work?
You know, if I were to take comp time or something like that, I could in turn use the comp time for it.
Okay, so
um,
you have that
I
flexibility.
may, especially if Alicia's not well, I need to plan for those types of contingencies.
Mhm.
Ingrid, my buddy in engineering, typically will work with me, and then oftentimes I'll grab somebody else, oftentimes somebody that speaks Spanish, because we get a certain amount of Spanish speakers.
Mhm.
One of our Spanish speakers retired, Jose, right? Yeah, Jose retired. Jose was also a strong guy.
Mhm.
You know, you work out in the landscape all the time and you're picking stuff up. He was a nice guy to have with me because he helped me
It's a lot
load
of
and
setup,
unload. Yeah. But I might have if Alicia can't make it, Alex from Meters really has expressed an interest to do it. And
Okay,
you know, people that express an interest in something, it's like, yeah, sure, come on. So,
yeah, okay, well, good, as long as
Yeah.
as long as you're taking care of yourself and not.
thanks.
Yeah, and the folks get compensated, so we get paid
Okay.
overtime.
Yeah.
For the weekend.
The only other staffing is we're going second interviews for the assistant O&M manager position, so they're being scheduled next week.
Okay,
You too.
We have one internal candidate and two external candidates
okay. And second interviews
Mhm.
for all three.
for all three people, yeah.
Okay. Are you optimistic and hopeful?
Yeah, really.
It was, we had a full slate of interview. I mean, we had, I think, 110 applicants, which for us is a tremendous amount. We had, of that, in the 60s were qualified.
Mhm.
In the almost 20 something met the ideal candidate traits.
Mhm.
We went through a long day of interviews. And we didn't have a single bad interview. I mean, we had better interviews than others, but not a single bad interview. So they were all pretty good qualified applicants.
That's
So
good. It makes your job harder though,
It
right?
makes your job, it took 2 days of weighing, different aspects of different people to figure out who the top three was gonna be, and that's why there's a second round.
Okay.
That's on the 20th.
It just got scheduled. I think it's next week.
Next week, yeah. So,
Okay. Well, good. Thank you for that update. Any comments or questions?
So something that's not on the agenda, and I think heard James say it, I was gonna mention it, Water Academy, so we're scheduled for
November 2nd,
November
right?
2nd.
Okay.
I don't know if we've started the outreach.
So the
Public
newsletter will go out in October, so that's the plan for that.
Yeah.
And remind me, because we've had several conversations about, are we splitting it? Are we doing one full day? Are we doing?
It's gonna be one full day. It's gonna be kept pretty much in the same format
Okay.
as it has been. There's been some concerns about splitting the event.
Mhm.
Resource demands on staff and just the quality of the experience, so we can try it again with a combined.
And this is just worth talking about since we're here. I didn't really put it on the agenda, but I just got a phone call Thursday. So the word is out that we'll do tours for schools. So there's a school tour that wants to come like on October 12th or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's another one of those things that's going to pull staff away from their tasks. And it's not that many students, but it's a good opportunity for us to let people know that this is an industry and we're right here.
Yeah.
And so there's other tours that we're doing.
Yeah, Chris has been reaching out to the Boys and Girls Club, and maybe we may get a group of
Oh,
them.
we are going to have a tour with them. They
Yeah.
just I don't think they were quite ready to ink something yet, but they want to do a tour.
And if we get more into this, we may want to focus on one point of the year, maybe have like tour week, right? Because
Yeah.
otherwise, when folks are constantly out there cleaning up the place and getting ready for the tours, it'd be nice if we just say it's gonna be this week, and maybe we take 10 different tours out there, whatever it is, and it's all in that one.
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
There are a number of water associated or affiliated weeks in the calendar. There's like Imagine a Day Without Water. There's National Water something or other
drinking
day or
water.
something. Yeah. So maybe we could coordinate it around that, or maybe we could coordinate it around, if we continue to do Bill Dean's program, something like that. To make it cohesive, but I like the idea of making it within a finite period of time rather than one-offs, because especially, if you are short-staffed, it's difficult.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
That was part of, part of the water academy. One of the reasons we didn't split it into two, it's just a lot of prep time for our staff to be out there cleaning. Whenever you host a party, you gotta clean your house. So
Yeah.
it felt like they were constantly cleaning your house to have these little
Yeah.
mini parties.
There's more of that than I imagined.
mhm,
I think I've been to Twin Oaks Tanks when it wasn't tour day,
mhm.
and just, spider webs and leaves, that doesn't make it look like you'd want to show it off. So,
Yeah,
Right.
okay, well, I imagine. Okay. Well, great work. I'm glad that word is out, but with that comes
Yeah,
accommodating
yeah.
the demand. But that's wonderful.
would those mostly be metal art term? Do you think?
There's some schools that want to tour Meadowlark, and there's a separate school that wants to come here, so.
Yeah.
They're in the hopper, they're kind of lurking out there. I'm gonna talk with Ed and see what I can work out, and that's Chris's big fear, is that, when Ed retires, who takes over his job, and will they be as accommodating of all the tours that I want to give,
Yes.
yeah, you saw that, right?
That was good.
Yeah, that was Matt out there. And you probably saw that too. Mom calls up, wants her
Yeah.
kid to get a tour
I
for his
know.
birthday.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That mom will not complain about her water bill though.
Right? Right.
In fact, maybe we need to invite her to speak at the
Yeah.
next.
Right.
update.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I'm not sure when that'll be, but it'll probably be in the November timeframe that will be coming forward for the next water rate adjustment, which will become effective January 1, but the board needs to take an action sometime before that, so.
Okay.
We'll try not to do it the week of Christmas, or, leading into Christmas, we try to get a little ahead of
Yeah,
that,
let's try to be sensitive about that. Okay. Well, thank you all. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your great work. And any other comments?
I was just looking at the website last night and I noticed there's bits that are outdated, so maybe we do that as a potential next agenda, or
Yeah.
maybe just
Yeah,
put it
that's
after. So as an
Lab
example,
Okay.
the credit rating is still a AA on the website, so
Oh,
Okay.
really?
boost that up.
I'm waiting on a quote, so
From President Hernandez?
yeah, and it's crickets. So
Okay.
maybe you can.
I'm meeting with
give
him
him one of
today.
these,
Yeah,
okay.
getting one of those to
Yeah.
James and our meeting with him.
All right. Yeah, I'm waiting on this.
PR quote.
But
Yeah.
I looked at the budget from 2012 and was like comparing it to our recent budget of this year, and it's pretty darn good. Like, kudos to you all.
Yeah. You got a lot of time on your hands. Go back 10 years ago looking at a budget, huh?
Just curious, like how much
Yeah.
has it changed in
Yeah,
10 years?
yeah. A lot of it's probably the cost of water.
That's the single biggest driver.
Yeah, yeah.
But from an operating budget stuff, we've really held the line for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Water and chemicals,
Yeah.
Yeah, electricity.
electricity.
Yeah.
75% over the last few years.
Amazing.
Electric increases. Electric utility increases. in San Diego. All right, well, thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Right.